things first, obey your thirst. So the transition I made was from eating to eating only dino tracks to only drinking. Today was only drinking. I had 2 coffees. One of them had a bunch of maple syrup in it. I had some orange juice and some apple juice, and they're gonna have more apple juice with my fizzy shot and lemon juice. I'm trying to poop the dino tracks that I ate yesterday. Haven't pooped yet. There's not really a lot of material in there to come out, to push out, you know? To your health. I don't know what time I fell asleep last night, but I didn't get a lot of sleep. And then I had to be up at 6 a.m. today. $6 a.m. today, so I could make $150 on the construction site. Tomorrow I'm babysitting at 8. And so I don't have to get up that early. I probably should. Just to get it done. But I need to catch up. Can you catch up on sleep? Is that a thing? I heard it's not. So I'm gonna try and zip through these stories. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chinese UFC Li Jingliang became the first high-profile fighter to fall foul of the organization's new rules about displaying flags in the octagon. Following his knockout win, blah, blah, blah. UFC recently announced that fighters will now be forbidden from displaying their country's flag in the cage at any point during, after, or before a fight. A rule imposed by Dana White apparently to avoid Russian fighters from flying their national flag in the octagon. This was, as White hinted, a public relations headache in wake of the various sanctions placed upon Russia and Belarusian athletes since the beginning of Russia's military campaign. He said, "You guys know why? Let's not even play that game." And here's the kid, and here him is him getting the flag getting ripped off.
Oh, they took the flag! I got it on film. They ripped it off.
Okay, so now I see. Now I see Russia's part in the New World Order to act as kind of like a sharpening stone, where the New World Order is basically grinding us against Russia to shape us. In this case, all the borders are going to be dissolved, and there's going to be no more countries. Everybody is going to be under one flag. And I'm going to put my logo on it. Let's move on. I want to make this quick so I can get to bed. Why did MI5 name Christine Lee as an agent of influence? And who the heck is Christine Lee? Is she hot? UK-based lawyer. Oh, political interference activities for the Chinese state. Okay, so basically, she was Labour MP Barry Gardner's close friend. So not a spy, but an agent of influence carrying out political interference activities on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party. Trying to get to the nitty-gritty here. She was involved in a seeding operation, reflecting the way the Chinese state operates, a willingness to wait years for efforts to pay off. Without naming individuals, security sources say there were a handful of candidates across all major parties. She was seeking to influence this dude. Friendship Association. Alright. It doesn't say what she actually did. Okay, so basically it seems like she's trying to get Chinese nationals involved in the British government. Britain All-Party Parliamentary Group. She set up the group, and this guy, Barry Gardner, chaired the group. And they got disbanded, and she was trying to set up a new group. Alright. Well, I don't follow politics too much except for what the government texts me to talk about on this news broadcast. It seems like the Chinese government is spearheading the push for a one world government through their technology of surveillance and recording. So these people that Christine Lee was setting up to make their way into the British government most likely will set something up to do with that surveillance of the people, getting these biometric analysis devices inside the citizens. You know, the United Kingdom is already one of, if not the most surveilled populations, definitely in Europe. Maybe China is more surveilled. But I think, without trying to sound politically incorrect, I think the Chinese have been ruled more so than any people by oppressive government systems, whether it was an emperor or, you know, now they're communist leaders. I don't believe it's genetic that they're easily ruled or subservient. But I do think that the behavior has been so ingrained, institutionalized, become part of their life from even before they're born. They have no chance. They have no history. Like America, we have a history of revolution. So I think we had a chance. It doesn't look like there's much chance anymore because our own government is an enemy of its people. So I'm sure there's a bunch of Christine Lees already in positions of power in America here, setting up the next false flag, pandemic, and biometric analysis, surveillance, injectable technology. Oh God. In my cold dead arm. The only way you're gonna inject me with biometric analysis surveillance technology is in my cold dead arm. Japan's two-time Olympic champion in figure skating, Yuzuru Hanyu, retires. Wow. Slender. First figure skater in history to execute a quadruple loop. We gotta see this. Huh? Oh, attempt. Huh? Really? Is this debatable? Okay. Here it is. This looks like one turn. Ooh, look at that. How did it even land that? Combination jumps of under-rotated. Alright, where's the video? Look at the difference in his face. From here, he's really straining. And here, looks like a different person. Young. Mad young. Can we get a video? Here we go. No sound? Hold on. Is my sound off? Sound is on. Okay. Was that it? I'm gonna see it in slow-mo. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 and a, I guess 4, yeah, because he's, hold on. I'm gonna see that in slow-mo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, there it is. 4. Amazing. Alright, so what about the retirement? I'll no longer be able to be compared with other competitors, but I'll keep fighting my weaknesses and my past self. I love the Japanese philosophy, man. Nobody in England, nobody in America talks like this. I'll keep fighting my weaknesses and my past self. Maybe it's just the translation that sounds so elegant. English maybe is not as beautiful a language, I don't know. In terms of results, I've achieved the things that I could achieve. I stopped wanting to be evaluated. 27. Retired at 27. Wow. I made the decision to stop competing after the last Olympics. I've thought through many things and I felt I no longer need to be on the same stage while also feeling more determined to get better and stronger. You know, is this sports career competitors? All right, so he's probably going to continue to skate as a professional but not compete. I don't think you can leave something like that, you know. Look at me. I didn't even get anywhere near that level of achievement in my sport, and yet I'm still a professional technically. I couldn't hang it up because I spent my whole life from 15 years old to, I retired in, let's just say 2010. So from 1995 to 2010, what's that? 15 years? I spent the 15 years of my developmental stages. When people went to college, I was fighting. When people went to the job force after college, I was fighting, training the whole time. You know, I dug myself in. I can't go to a regular job. I'm not qualified, and I would be miserable. You think Hanyu is going to be able to go sit behind a desk or work construction or work retail or, you know, go back to school or whatever? There's no way he's hanging up the skates, and it doesn't sound like it either. Hanyu, I wish you the very best in your continued career as a professional skater, and I hope to one day witness you doing a quadruple loop.
Ribbit.
Reminds me of being with an ex-girlfriend. She had 10 orgasms in one session. That was our record. She wanted to stop after a while, but I was like, we're so close to 10. I think it was 8. I said, let's just go for 2 more, make it a record. Not every girl can do that though. Michael Chandler fight with Conor McGregor. Biggest steroid matchup in MMA. Is there sound?
The Conor fight. Just
I can't
as
put the
we continue
video
to
up.
move forward through this division, it is a wild division. It is a very stark.
How do I X this? I don't want to see it. If Conor's coming back anytime soon, I think Conor would make some fireworks, and it's a fight that fans want to see. I think it's the biggest fight we can make in mixed martial arts right now, and I try to say that as humbly as possible, but I think it's a huge fight. I think I'm going to have to get up for this one. Gyno. Oof. Michael Chandler wants the red panty night. Big surprise. He needs the money to pay for his PEDs. Michael Chandler, you're a terrible example for your kids. Do steroids and beat people up for a living. Do steroids and give somebody traumatic brain injury like you did to Tony Ferguson. You are a male prostitute selling your body to Conor McGregor. Maybe afterwards you guys can shoot the steroids in each other's butts. How about that? I'm a natural athlete. 1995 I started doing martial arts. Never once. No pills. No injectables. No creams. I take 2 herbal supplements, Yohimbe and Tribulus. One gets me up for a workout, one supposedly stimulates my own body's natural production. In my balls. You don't got any balls. You need to rely on exogenous hormone injections. I'll fight you anytime to prove to the kids and everybody else you don't need to do steroids to be a martial artist. And Conor McGregor, he's another one. Conor, you're trash. Using your money to sell alcohol to your countrymen. Tuh. I'll fight you anytime too, the both of you. I'm sorry, guys. I don't really have it in me to do the promos tonight. I'm just going to get this done. Somebody say something in the chat. Athletic Streetwalkers. HGH. Definitely. He's definitely on all of it. I'm going to try and get a good night's sleep so I could do better promos. Yeah, no, I could do better, but thank you. Sri Lanka's tea farmers see, I'm trying to make 1-minute clips. Apparently, the YouTube algorithm is boosting these stories. So I gotta do my nightly news and take segments to make shorts, not stories, shorts, YouTube shorts. So that could be one if it was good enough. I might make one out of that. Sri Lanka's tea farmers struggling to survive. I think they need to eat a little bit more than tea, huh? Maybe this is a message to me because I started fasting. YouTube loves 60 seconds or less shorts. You got it. 904 Pinball Zine. Thank you. Thank you for commenting. And I'm on it. Know this. Leaves from the lush green tea estates covering the hills of central Sri Lanka end up in cups around the world. Tea is the island's biggest export, normally bringing in more than $1 billion a year. But the industry is being hit hard by the unprecedented economic crisis. All right. So let's see. Oh, the government banned chemical fertilizer last year. Okay. The Sri Lankan tea farmer is complaining because the government banned chemical fertilizer last year. Boo fucking who? You can't poison the earth anymore. Wow. Imagine complaining that you can't put poisonous chemicals into the groundwater. Imagine complaining that you can't use artificial chemicals to grow a natural product. Imagine. Rohan Tilak Guru Singh. You're pathetic. If you're growing something that can't grow on its own, you need to stimulate it with artificial chemicals. Get a life. Find a new job. You're just like these steroid MMA fighters. Why don't you do something natural? Something beneficial to humanity. Grow organic tea. And if you drink tea, only buy organic tea. Don't give money to these scumbags who are polluting the earth with their chemical fertilizer and crying about it. Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. Oh, the government stopped me from giving my money to poison chemical manufacturers. Wow. You deserve to lose your money if you do that. That's called natural law. You do something that's not good for everybody, you're going to go out of business. Period. And deservedly so. Buy organic tea, folks. That's what I'm going to do. That's my takeaway from this article. Last one, then I'm going to call it, guys. It's going to be short tonight. I'm sorry. I got to get to bed. I didn't get sleep last night. And I'm just not feeling it. But I did this anyway. Did it anyway. We'll do it live. Hainan Expo. What is this? China International Consumer Products Expo. Things you should know. Oh, man. Set to make a welcome return in 2022. Overseas exhibits. It's today. When is this shit? July 26th to July 30th. Okay, so it's next week. Which one am I gonna... Online trade fair database? No. Alright, let's just go to the first one here. Things you should know. Alright, the Chinese government is now screen sharing. Hello. I actually got a phone call today from some Chinese voicemail. I didn't answer it because I was riding my bike. But I listened to the message and I had no idea what they were saying. It was in Chinese. Okay. Concludes in Taiwan. All you need to know. Here we go. Consumer Products Expo. This is like the Jetsons. You got your robot butler. Hello, it's blank. Oh, here we go. About. Can I click on this? No. Theme, an open China. Mascots. A panda and a sloth. No, 2 pandas. Guest country of honor, Switzerland. Oh, wow, that says a lot. Isn't this where they hide all their money? Swiss banks? Isn't this where all the freaking illegal money goes? Hainan International Convention and Exhibition Center. Wow, look at this thing. Hainan Pavilion using natural, biodegradable, and recycled materials. I'll give it to China on that note. They do have a big green movement, supposedly. I mean, you can only go by what they're saying. 5 sections of the international exhibition area: fashion, jewelry and diamonds, food and supplements, hospitality and professional services, lifestyle and outdoors. Overseas exhibitors from other countries. Oh, they want to import to China, export to China, or import into China, whatever. 648. Global brands, over 1,300. Exempted from the offshore duty-free shopping quota of 100,000 yuan per person. New products launch of global brands. Okay, what we got here? We got a watch. We got jewelry. We got alcohol. We got Alienware. That's gaming computers. See what else I can figure out here. doTERRA, I believe, is shoes. That I don't know. Kate Spade. That's some type of fashion. Okay, De Beers, diamonds. Bacardi, alcohol. Okay. Land Rover, cars. Alright, so let's make a guess here. Land Rover cars, they got a electric Land Rover now. Electric Land Rover. Alienware, coming out with the brand new VR. Alienware is coming out with a VR computer, I bet. L'Oreal, that's going to be vegan, eco-friendly makeup. It's good. It's healthy for your skin. No chemicals. And Shiseido, I think that's food. They're probably just catering. Hennessy, they're throwing the party. Bacardi, throwing the party. And I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about all this. I'll just close it up with this. There's a saying now in the end of 2012. Londos, thank you for that. Chief, I like. I actually studied with 2 chiefs. One was Chief Two Hands out of Omaha. It's too hot for a shirt. I'm wearing pants though, it's pajama pants. Plus, I'm a UFC fighter, man. They don't wear shirts. At the end of 2012, you know, you had the end of the recycling of the Mayan calendar, 28,000 year cycle, I think it was. Something like that. We entered into the age of Aquarius, crossed over the galactic equator. Not sure exactly. I happened to be with my teacher, Dr. David Jubb. He, at one point, was the ceremonial chief for North America, meaning he basically was in charge of the entheogenic ceremonies. When they all got together, there was a lot of weed when I was with him. You know, of course, he was helping me recover from traumatic brain injury. And that's one of the major medications, natural, of course. And he put me on a specialty food program focusing mostly on pumpkin seeds because of the essential fat profile, which rebuilds the brain, and the anti-parasitic effect, which helped me get off of non-life food certified ingredients. If you didn't know, there's grains, which basically act like cocaine, you know, a small dose. And there's also proteins in several grains that act like heroin, a weak heroin. That same type of what's called an exogenous opiate, also known as a xenomorphin, is in dairy. Casomorphin. Look it up. Kasomorphin. Casomorphin. Casomorphin. It's a form of opium. I was addicted, being raised as a vegetarian, on a lot of pasta and cheese and bread and cheese sandwiches and pizza and milk and cereal. You know, my dad, God bless him, was ahead of his time raising me as a vegetarian. I think it was very beneficial for me as an alternative to being, you know, raised on a standard American diet. Less parasites than if I was eating meat. So I think it was easier for me than for most people to give up junk food because I really didn't have those things as much as other people. I have pooped out a bunch of parasites. One big one that looked like an inch long maggot, a couple of clumps that had like, it looked like a tumor that had parasites growing out of it, a couple of tumors that had like worms growing out of it. And then that was pretty nasty. And then I think there was probably one more time where there was worms in my poop. And this all happened within the past couple of years since Dr. Jubb put me on to pumpkin seeds, and then I continued to do fasting and cleansing. If you're interested, I could help you do it too. But what I was gonna say, yeah, dino scales was my first commercial recipe, and I have since updated that to dino cheese, and then I turned the dino cheese into dino tracks, which is the goldfish cracker, club cracker sized, that I'm gonna take to market. I also make an ice cream out of pumpkin seeds. I call it Emperor's ice cream, and it's basically a dinosaur humanoid with like golden armor. Emperor's ice cream. Maybe that would go over well in China, since they used to have emperors with the divine right to rule. I believe I have divine right to rule. My family being members of an ancient cult and conceiving me on a certain date and time in a, you know, religious ceremony, sexual ceremony, probably on an altar, and then my corresponding birthday, you know, putting me in basically the role of chosen one. So I believe that this logo here is gonna end up on top of the pyramid. That's what I'm going for. Maybe I'm schizo, maybe. We'll see. But where was I going with all this? Something about 2012 medicine training, into 2013. Something about this Chinese Consumer Products Expo. I know I'm gonna end the stream and then think about it. and then think of it, what I was going to say. I was with David Jubb doing the medicine training. And then Londos, you called me Chief. It made me think of Jubb, and it made me think of Chief Two Hands out of Nebraska. Chief Two Hands was, I believe, a Prince Hall Mason, because he was black, but also a native. And they got a building in Omaha. On the side of it, it says Woodman or Woodmen. He was telling me that he recycles damaged wood, which was a metaphor for me and other males who get into trouble, and he helps them, gets them straight again. He let me stay in his home, but eventually his wife wanted me out, and that's when I came back to New York, 2013. I guess what I'll say is that, see, I wanted to finish all this by tomorrow so I can start real fasting, no liquid. No sugar, I mean. You know, juice has sugar in it. Natural sugar, but supposedly the sugar. Hey, Rick. Does he charge 1 million gold coins? What are you talking about? Are you talking about Chief Two Hands? Charging 1 million gold coins? I think he's the type of person to see the value of the old Taoist proverb. I don't know about that one. I'll have to look it up. There it is. Blood Sword Tao? No, that's not it. Taoist. I'm not finding it. Proverb. Ancient Chinese coinage? No. What am I missing here? Fasting blood sugar. New diabetes medication. Oh, jeez. Should I try YouTube? The Count of Saint Germain. Effortless living. Taoism, the most misunderstood philosophy in the West. Ooh. I think I'm gonna have to listen to this.
Taoism is a philosophical school of thought that came from China. It emphasizes on living in accordance with the Tao, or perhaps it is more accurate to say, flow along with the Tao, the law of the universe. One of the most important principles of Taoism is the principle of Wu Wei, or action through inaction, because sometimes things will work out better with less intervention and bureaucracy. In the West, Taoism has got quite a following from the literary gentry. High-profile writers such as Alan Watts, Ursula Le Guin, Oscar Wilde, and even the rap legend Reza has shown appreciation for this gentle anarchist philosophy. It is perceived as the thinking person's philosophy. Meanwhile, back in Asia, Taoism is experienced as a bundle of ball-busting superstition, magical thinking, and religious woo-woo. So, what is Taoism really about then? Well, the answer is kinda complicated, so stick with me because I'm going to talk about the real Taoism that's not taught in your textbook.
The name of the channel is
Tao Te
Cool
Ching
history,
is
bros.
the most important book in
Tao Te
Taoism.
Ching?
It is traditionally believed to be written by Lao Tzu. He may have lived somewhere in between 6th or 4th century before Common Era, but most scholars believe that he was a legendary figure. Even though he was credited for the writing of the most important book in Taoism, he was not the creator of the school of thought called Taoism. During the Spring and Autumn and Warring States era, between 6th to 3rd century BCE, China had a flourishing free marketplace of ideas. Countless philosophers debated each other and they constantly refined their own ideas. They were collectively called the 100 Schools of Thought. But this grouping and classification of schools of thought only came a few hundred years after, when historians in the Han Dynasty cataloged the different intellectual strains of thoughts into their respective schools. Confucianism and Mohism had their own organization, so their schools of thought could be easily identified. But the others, like legalism, yin-yang, and Taoism, were grouped together by the historians who think that the texts covered similar topics. Even by the time of the earliest categorical grouping of Taoism, Taoism was seen in the context of the political religious practices of the Huanglao Taoism. Huanglao Taoism is the combination of the veneration of the Yellow Emperor Huangdi and Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. The Yellow Emperor was a legendary figure from the antiquity who was credited as the originator of Chinese culture and traditional Chinese medicine. But the earliest evidence of his worship only dates as far back as the Warring States. And somewhere along the way, he became the paragon of the Taoist ruler who had perfectly applied the principles of Tao Te Ching into his rule. Some modern writers like to make the distinction between philosophical Taoism and religious Taoism. But this division is mostly a modern phenomenon, done by those who perhaps want to gentrify Taoism to the modern Western taste. But the fact is that religious and political aspects of Taoism had never been conceived to be separate, even all the way back to the beginning. Eventually, Taoism absorbed more metaphysical concepts such as yin-yang and the 5 elements from the school of yin-yang. Even though the concept of yin-yang is so inextricably linked to Taoism now, if you read the Tao Te Ching, you would know that yin-yang was only mentioned in there once.
Wow.
It only appeared more often in Zhuangzi, a Taoist canon written later. Exorcism, alchemy, qigong, and other magical practices were also associated with Taoism. One of the biggest problems with Taoism is the lack of orthodoxy. Almost anything can be absorbed into Taoism, and thus anything can also be claimed as Taoism. That is why there were so many Taoist cults appearing near the end of the Han Dynasty. And since the empire had turned corrupt and was crumbling apart, some of the Taoist sects became rebels and started bloody uprisings. Some of them even established their own theocracy. One of the most famous sects was the Way of the Great Peace, which launched the Yellow Turban Rebellion that hastened the demise of the Han Dynasty. Fun fact, the Yellow Turban was also featured as the antagonist group in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms historical novel. Another Taoist sect that rose at the time was the Way of the Celestial Master. They established a theocracy in Hanzhong until it surrendered to Cao Cao prior to the Three Kingdoms period. The latter survived up to this day, but it is just one among the many Taoist sects out there. Taoism only gained some form of consistency during the Tang Dynasty because it was supported by the emperor, who thought that he was a descendant of Lao Tzu because both of them shared the same surname, Li. But still, they failed to establish a Taoist orthodoxy. In fact, they did the opposite because they blurred the practices of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism into a politically convenient slurry. The Ming Dynasty government tried to codify Taoism again, but it did not succeed either. As time goes on, more and more Taoist sects appear, bringing with them their own sets of practices and belief systems. But there has never been any form of Taoism in the history of China that's devoid of any religious component. In fact, purely philosophical Taoism was non-existent. Ironically, philosophical Taoism was more often discussed in the context of other schools of thoughts and religion, such as legalism and Buddhism. Han Feizi borrowed the concept of Wu Wei from the application of his legalist philosophy, and Buddhism in China borrowed Taoist philosophical ideas to develop into the Chan school of Buddhism, which is also known as Zen Buddhism in Japan. So, the secular Taoism you see in the West is really just an aberration in the long line of Taoist tradition. But then again, when compared to all the different and unusual Taoist sects out there, do you think that secular Western Taoism is any more unusual to the rest of them? In my opinion, they are not really that different to the new cults and sects that pop up throughout history. It is just a new style of Taoism that is adapted to a different lifestyle. Besides, isn't Taoism all about flowing with the current? Well, anyway, that's just my opinion. But what do you think? Do you think that Western Taoism should be considered Taoism? Or do you think that it is just a product of New Age spirituality? Comment below. As always, give the videos a thumbs up if you liked it, and if you like history from Asia and other parts of the world, then you should subscribe because we release a video at least once a week. Until next time, stay cool, my bros.
Have you ever reflected on the word doing? Doing points to performance.
Okay, well, I still can't remember what I was going to say about that Chinese fair. But something to do with 2012. I think it's something to do with 2012 and Age of Aquarius. The awakening, environmentalism. I'm planning on being a spearhead. I wanted to start water fasting tomorrow to basically clear out and let my energy flow. I got a big task ahead. I'm gonna be fighting, I'm gonna be touring, I'm gonna be selling, selling myself, selling my idea. So I always thought that something was holding me back. And I think it's in here, in my core. It's in this fat around my organs. So I got it. Is that a bug? Damn. I got into fasting, beyond cleansing. I cleaned up my menu. That's a form of cleansing. I flushed my liver out over the years. Many, many flushes. That's probably the most powerful form of cleansing. But that enabled me to now go without food because I basically have the environment where healthy microorganisms can live. I was fasting, but I didn't realize that the juice, the sugar in the juice, the honey in my tea, the maple syrup in my coffee was actually stopping the autophagy process. Shout out to Kinnan. Was kind enough to message me and send me some information. Basically, I had to do water fasting to really dig in, and it's going to take 3 days to actually start the process. So today's day 0, it doesn't even count. From when I finished that juice, it's 11:30 now. I don't want to pour it out. I don't want to waste it, but if it's in my fridge, I might be tempted tomorrow. I'll see if I can give it to my dad. So tomorrow's Wednesday. 24 hours from tonight to tomorrow night. Tomorrow night to Thursday night. Thursday night to Friday night. That's 3 days. So that means the autophagy, the cleaning out of this shit, doesn't even start till Saturday. But Saturday, I might be doing mushrooms with my girlfriend because we watched a movie called How to Change Your Mind, and it was about people using it actually wasn't a movie, it's a series maybe on Netflix. And there's 4 episodes. One is on LSD. One's on MDMA. The one that I wanted to watch was on mushrooms. And it was about, part of it was about a guy who healed his OCD behavior by taking a trip. And he didn't microdose. He like took an actual trip. So she wants to get off her meds. She's on antidepressant meds, and I want her to get off them, obviously. I told her, you know, how could I be with somebody? I do natural healing. I don't do drugs. How could I be with somebody long term who's a pill popper? I didn't put it like that, but this is what I'm thinking. Like, it's just not a fit. I don't want to have to start planning my exit strategy. So I told her, well, she was the one who actually picked the movie out. The video out. No, I can have water. Yeah, I can have water. I just can't have any calories. If I take in calories in the form of whatever it is, I don't know if fat, if I do like the ketosis thing, I don't know if that's gonna do it. But if I bring in calories, my body's gonna get the fuel from this instead of the fuel from, you know, breaking down the fat. And the fat is where we put the toxins to protect the organs. So anyway, Saturday, she's going to let me know because she's looking out for contraindications. Like, she wants to get off the meds, but she doesn't want to have a bad trip, and she doesn't want to die from whatever side effects. I don't know. I think the meds that she's on, you can skip doses. But she's scared, you know? She's got doctors in her ear. Anyway, my plan is to take mushrooms with her on Saturday. And weed too. I think weed is good to take on like the last half of the trip. It's kind of like a cool down of a workout. If you go really hard on a workout, like you do sprints or something, it's good to do a cool down and a stretch and stuff like that. I think the weed, I'm not making this up, you know, ask around. People say when you're coming down off the mushrooms, it's good to do weed. So Saturday we're gonna trip. Hopefully I can give her the weed too, and then I want to use that time when her mind is kind of like open to suggestion. She's in an altered state. To talk to her, talk about how weed is used for depression. And I found a doctor just on a quick Google search, a psychiatrist in New York City who prescribes weed for depression. I'm sure he's not the only one either. He's just the first one that I found. So that's my plan. But if I can do tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, water only, maybe I'll do the Yohimbe and Tribulus also. just so I don't like crawl into a hole and die somewhere. And there's no calories in that. I don't think that's going to stop the autophagy process. But if I can do that for 3 days, the next time I'll do it, I'll start maybe Sunday or Monday, and then I'll do 5 days. And then I'll do 7 days, and then I'll do 10 days, then I'll do 14 days, then I'll do 21 days. 21 days is the goal. Kinnan told me 21 days is the one that you want to get to. There's a guy on Facebook. He claims he's doing a 40-day dry fast. That's no water either. But he's been practicing fasting for a long time. So what is she taking? It's not really my business to talk about. But the side effects are constipation and stomach pain. You know, because if you look up the natural medicine research, depression is actually inflammation. It's inflammation of the intestinal tract. And that's where you're supposed to have all your neurotransmitters produced, 95% of them. And when you have inflammation in the intestine, you have a gut-brain imbalance. And all these psych meds, they basically shut down your immune response to that inflammation, and that's not healing. If you shut off the body's response, it's like, oh, you have a runny nose, we'll take something that fucking dries out your mucous membrane, you know. Oh, you have a headache, take aspirin. You know, it's not fixing the problem, and it's only creating side effects down the line. Yeah, Rick, we did briefly mention Taoism. Yeah, it's not SSRIs, Londos. You can't take mushrooms with SSRIs. But most all psych meds do have that. Most all psych meds do have that effect of constipation and stomach pain, because think of it like this, okay? Depression is here. Depression is inflammation here. So whether they realize it or not, the action of these meds, well, think about it. You eat it, where does it go? It doesn't go here. You don't eat it and it goes here, it goes into here. So this is where the action of the drugs is. So you have the inflammation here. It's manifesting everywhere. Depression is a systematic condition, but the brain is what's observing everything. So you feel it here. It's in your energy and it's in your mind. The mind runs on energy. The drugs that they give you, it basically turns off your ability to recognize the situation. That's why people get zombified on these drugs. It's like, oh yeah, everything seems to be okay. because I just am not aware of the situation anymore. So it turns off this. You have inflammation here, takes the drugs, it turns off the response. So you still got the inflammation, but instead of it being red, it starts to go pink. Red is hot. Red is, oh shit, there's an emergency, we got to do something about it. But now it's pink because the drugs reduce the circulation. And reduced circulation is reduced performance, reduced motility. Now you got the food sitting there even longer. You're constipated. You got pain because the food is getting hard. It's bulging out. And she's a longtime vegan and gym rat and has an incredibly fit body while still remaining feminine. It's just perfect, except for a pouch, or not a pouch, a mound, where if you look at her sideways, it looks like this. Oh, this is too high. It's like that. It's lower. It's here. It's like right above. It's like the lowest ab. Where I have this slight roll here, she has a mound, and that's because the food is stuck, and the tissue is inflamed and thickened because the food's not going anywhere. It's constipated, and the tissue, because of the drugs, has low circulation, so it becomes thick. It's like a scar. Imagine the thick, how you have a scar which is elevated. It's not smooth. So now imagine the whole intestine is becoming scarred. Instead of supple, it's stiff. It's losing circulation, and material is becoming deposited inside, in between the cells. That's the best way I could describe it. You know, Dr. Jubb has a book that's actually on my website if you want to get into the nitty-gritty details about the neurotransmitters and the mold and how everything is just... Where is it here? It's not Klonopin. Klonopin's for anxiety, I think. One of the guys at my old gym used to take Klonopin. This is the Jubb library, which unfortunately I have yet to organize. Okay. Toxin and mental health. Page 99. Nutrient deficiency and brain and gut health. Life food prevents mental challenges. Natural versus synthetic therapy to mental wellness. Natural versus synthetic approach to mental wellness. let's just read that because it's only 3 pages. I can't read this whole thing right now. I'm gonna end the stream after this. Small amounts of biogenic amine. What's amine? Is that protein? Amine is, put on my phone here. Amines are compounds and functional groups that contain a basic nitrogen atom with a lone pair. Amines are formally derivatives of ammonia, wherein one or more hydrogen atoms have been replaced by a substituent, such as an alkyl or aryl group. What is an amine? Organic compounds that contain nitrogen atoms with a lone pair. Okay. What do amines do? Biogenic amines, having several critical biological roles in the body, have essential physiological functions such as the regulation of growth and blood pressure and control of the nerve conduction. There you go. Are there more neurotransmitters in the gut than the spinal cord, Rick? There's more neurotransmitters around the intestine than in the spinal cord. That's a pretty deep fact, if you think about it. The spinal cord connects the brain to the body. So the body is actually more connected to the gut than the brain. That's why the gut's called the primary brain. And this is the second brain. You know? Just think of all the animals and organisms that don't think. You know, we're, as far as we know, the only animal that's conscious. You know, that we have like philosophy and we learn about ourselves. We have religion, we have relationships, you know, we have written language. So this brain came after this brain. And this is our first brain. And this is where this brain comes from. All the fuel, the neurotransmitters come from here. So this has to be taken care of first to get this. But the Western treatment is backwards. They think it's up here. They think depression is up here. Small amounts of biogenic amine is essential, yet an overabundance causes serious mental thought challenge and brain dysfunction. The brain in such a state has a reduced capacity such that undermethylation leads to chronic and acute condition as depression. Have you seen a map of the brain upstairs? Nah, I haven't. I've seen diagram. Why are you saying that? I know that you got the frontal cortex that's unique to humans. The frontal cortex is unique to humans that we can plan. No one hand. Is that supposed to be on one hand? This is the working copy. It's not the published work. On one hand, undermethylation allows the accumulative deposit of biogenic amine and high histamine and upper respiratory mucus and depression contaminant heavy metal copper in water that is drank, and undermethylation of biogenic amines causes dryness and no saliva. On the other hand, overmethylation of biogenic amine can, as a state, also exist of over-wet saliva situation and phlegm. Life Food Nutrition allows for digestive fitness that allows for lymphatic and blood vital electric. And this in turn allows for vital youthful intestinal, liver, pancreatic, and other endocrine gland function. TV dinner, fast food, fussy, a fried sticky finger, hydrogenated trans fat, butter, and lard consumed inhibit vitamin A, D, and E, and K. Refried corn, wheat, rice, potato, carrot, cane sugar, and milk supplies 45% of a SAD, meaning standard American diet, food habit. All that is an empty, dead, skeletonized calorie. High bacteria count and reduced bile flow and increased susceptibility to disease. Brain and gut cannibalism ensues. A human's diet at present can kill a rat as it is fed this in a pellet. Deficient soil and fertilizer and loss due to storage, scalding chelating agent as EDTA, processing and packaging. A whole part can contain a safe level of cadmium and zinc, yet after processing it is quite toxic. A rat can have died by eating enriched wheat bread. The whole of a nutrient is greater than its isolated changed component. No clinic exists for valerian root, yet it works far longer and can be cleared by the body. Some 30 clinics exist for treating Valium types of addiction, though, at present. This type of tinkering is hazardous. "33% of the human brain is the frontal cortex, 11% in dogs, 7% in cats, 11% in monkeys, 7% in dogs, and 3.5% in cats. That's crazy, the brain and gut cannibalism. I feel that and see it with interactions with my loved ones. I like coming down from mushrooms with valerian." Okay, I'm going to keep that in mind. Damn, Rick. You well trained. Should have known. Talking to a medicine person. Good on you, mate. You don't know what you've got after a synthetic or isolate is administered. Synthetic meaning these chemical drugs. Isolate is like, vitamin C, whatever, zinc. You look at these juices. I got the apple cider, which is, there's no added ingredients, but if you look at apple juice, they go, 130% vitamin C. They're putting in a synthetic vitamin C in there. Or if you take, a zinc pill or something like that. That's what this isolate. It's better to conserve rather than try to restore back vital nutrients. Say no to preservatives, food additives, texturizers, flavor enhancers. In them exist toxic compounds that cause salivation and all undigestible poison of those compounds, such as antibiotic hormones, stabilizers, emulsifiers, colorants, artificial flavorings, monosodium glutamate. Eating food that's never been eaten before and a lack of nutritional education has given us deadly puffed cream and potato snacks. Eat life food for life and let go life to eat. I think what he's saying here is basically eat for sustenance, don't eat for pleasure. Don't get high off the drug-like effect of food. You know, when people are like, oh yeah, I can't wait, you know? Just eat what you need to survive. Don't be satisfied by eating physical material food. Be satisfied by a good idea. I like that. Last page, I'm going to call it, guys. I'm going to go to bed after this. Excess methylation is a substantiated fact in intestinal dysbiosis and celiac and bile occlusion. Bile occlusion is gallstones, a fatty liver, you know, low bile flow. This causes an underproduction of the brain of biogenic amines. White flour drastically inhibits pantothenic acid, B5 and B6, production by intestinal flora. Thus, biogenic element necessary for being motivated and feeling good doesn't exist in a balanced state if you have this intestinal dysbiosis. There's more. There's how to heal it. There's another book. And then there's also a shorter book. So if you want to learn more, I can guide you. Here's a Jubb's gallbladder and liver cleanse right here. I do have to take care of my own health and get to bed though. Let's just see. I saw somebody wrote something. Is that you, Rick? Grady Matt, give thanks for discovering David Jubb years ago because of his food knowledge. There's nobody better, man. What happened was, just to give you the backstory, Dr. Jubb was on the team after his postdoctoral work was mapping out the human language, or English. What they did was they attached these readers or meters or scanners, whatever you want to call them, to the subjects as they were speaking. And they basically were able to map out language in the brain. So what they saw was, this was the very beginning. Now they have since gotten more specific, and they could look at this, what's called a SPECT. Something positron electron CT, SPECT. It's an acronym. And it's basically a 3D colored map of your brain. Now I think when Jubb was doing this research, it was only 2D. So they could basically see it from the side and from the front. But now they have it in 3D. So they can see exactly in detail what each word looks like when you think it and when you speak it. So now they got these scanners everywhere on these towers and whatever. And you know, this is part of my own conspiracy. They can read your thoughts based on the words that you're saying to yourself and the shape that those words take in your brain. And they have these remote scanners that can see the activity in your brain without having to have these electrodes attached to your head. When Jubb was doing this research, they had to put the electrodes on the head, and you know, it's the very basic research of it. But what he discovered was that, among many things, when you're interested in something, you are lighting up the full brain. He called it whole brain functioning. And that's really what his specialty is, primarily. Now, he did get into food because he brought his system of whole brain functioning to Ann Wigmore, who at the time was running the Hippocrates Health Institute. I know it's in Florida now, but I'm not sure where it was when Dr. Jubb was working with her team. And basically, he was teaching her team how to speak to not only light their whole brain up, but light the brain up of the person they were speaking to. And this was the beginning of NLP. Dr. Jubb's research was incorporated into hypnotherapy, and NLP was born from that, neuro-linguistic programming. And it got brought into sales, and now all your negotiating is neuroscience. And you can look up the guy I'm learning negotiations from now is a guy named Chris Voss, and his channel is called the Black Swan Group. And he was a hostage negotiator for the lead hostage negotiator for the FBI for 20 years. And he has since gone into the professional sector, you know, training real estate and sales teams and people who want to have better relationships. And this is all based on the research that Dr. Jubb and his team did into whole brain functioning. Anyway, he brought his system to Ann Wigmore. And Ann Wigmore had the Hippocrates Health Institute, which was teaching living food. Living food was born out of raw food, which was born out of, I believe, macrobiotics or vegetarianism. There's kind of a sequence of, you know, home cooking to health food, and then becoming more and more specific. Living food was a vegetarian menu, a vegan menu, but they were not as specific as life food. See, in living food, they do sprouted grains and beans. In living food, they do bananas and carrots and beet juice. And what Dr. Jubb saw was, under the microscope, using phase contrast, which is also known as dark field microscopy, and live blood cell analysis. You can look this up on YouTube. Live blood cell analysis is watching in real time what happens to the blood when people eat. And so Dr. Jubb saw that several of her menu items mostly the grains and the beans and the other hybrids that I just mentioned, carrots and beets, and there's a bunch of other ones, but I'm just too tired to think about it. It was causing a clumping of the blood. So instead of the individual cells being discrete, meaning their electric charge like two north ends of a magnet, of magnets, keeping the magnets from touching. You know, when you have two north poles on a magnet, they can't touch each other. So that's what's supposed to happen with your blood cells, or they're not actually cells, they're erythrocytes. They're supposed to be discrete. That means they can't touch each other and then they can flow. But when you eat these things that you're not supposed to, they lose their charge, and then the blood gets clumped and it doesn't flow as much. And so he refined her menu to only include the things that kept the blood in its healthy state, and he called it life food. And then in 2013 he gave me permission to run with his brand, calling it Life Food Certified. Okay, guys. So, you have any other questions? I'd love to help you out, but I'm gonna call it for now. You're welcome, Matt. Rick says, I was watching live footage of the comet near Earth today. It's so beautiful. It looks like those foam houses that Happy Face shares on his Toltec stories. See, I thought the foam houses was talking about the Atlantean ships when they came to shore, and the natives saw the waves, the water break in front of the ship, and so they called them foam houses. But are you talking about some type of spray foam that then solidifies into any shape? That's pretty cool. I know they're doing 3D printing of houses now, and they can make anything you want. Corner of every light block, corner of every block on the light posts, they have these meters that read your brain waves, huh? Okay, I believe it. Matt says, I watched his language series 10 years ago and it changed the way I talk. I'm way better at life now. Wow. Which language series is that? Is that the whole brain functioning? 44 tapes on my channel? You're welcome. Rick says, my friend, my first boss, he owned the spa in Kona, Hawaii. His father had a clinic in India, and Dr. Wigmore came and helped him with his patients back in the 70s, I think. Small world, big island, haha. I'm not sure if that was before or after Dr. Jubb traveled with her. Do you know if he went to India with her? No, I didn't know that he traveled with her. I thought he went to her in wherever she was at. I don't know the full story, man. A lot of this is speculation, bro. I hallucinate. What do you want? I'm schizo. Maybe none of this is true. Rick says, what if 6 was 9? Hydrogen steam engines, mycelium foam, whole brain functioning. Right on. I could be hallucinating. I could be tapping into the ether, though, and then it would be true. I like to think I'm intuitive because I cleaned my system out pretty much. You know, not fully, but pretty much. So I'm able to tap more into the ether and get these Akashic messages. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe my intuition. I believe that there is a math underlying the universe, and when I walk by somebody and they're on the phone with somebody else and they're saying something that was planned a long time ago for me to be heard. So it's not schizophrenic to personalize everything. It's just the way it's supposed to be. That, you know, I watch movies and I think it's about me. Or Spirit has a message for me. I think it's math. I believe that what I learned from the Kabbalah, I never read the Kabbalah, but I went to a seminar with Bill Clinton's astrologer on an estate on the North Shore of Long Island. And what he told me was that according to Kabbalah, we were conceived as sparks in the cosmic mother, which is a black hole at the center of the universe. And then we came out of that Taurus, and that spark that they call them sparks. We chose to be that spark, however long ago. We chose this life. Something to think about. Spooky action at a distance. I have heard that, Rick, but I don't know about it. But I tell you what I do know is that I am falling asleep. Can't even hold my head up anymore. It's 12:12. Make a wish. I wish you all, whoever's still watching and whoever tuned in tonight, I wish you the very best in your life. And I'm going to bounce that off of you. I'm going to share in that, you know, as a team. We're all going to get the benefit of that wish. And, you know, after that, we're going to put the work in. So I wish we have good luck, great fortune, and an uncompromised work ethic. Great spirit inside us all. May we all fly like eagles. Tune in tomorrow for more health news and whatever else the government sends me. If you want me to talk about something, just send me a text or a message. Go to masterluki.com. Click on where it says about. You got all my contact info there. And send me an article or a tweet or whatever, man. And, you know, I'll put it on the list. What they say about Einstein's hair, he was using only half his brain. Probably smoother if he had his hair knotted. You mean his brain energy made the hair stand up? Wow. Maybe that's why my hair is flat. I gotta get my brain waves up. Master